Good morning, my fellow children of God. What are you at? T here with a check-in. Woke up with extreme fear. Only way to describe it, and uncertainty, and that's unusual because I have a 12-step program that abates that, right? But I got to do some work. So am I doing enough work? Anyway, I figured I'd get into the scriptures. Now, I'm reading a book called Messianic Judaism, a modern movement with an ancient past by David Stern. And the thought comes to my mind, Christian. What is a Christian? It's the wrong translation. Just like Testament should have been covenant, the new covenant, as opposed to the New Testament. Why am I saying this? Because the greatest tragedy, put the teeth back in the mouth. The greatest tragedy, I believe, is the split from Christians and Jews, right? The non-acceptance of Yeshua, the Mashiach. Just because they put him on a cross, a tree. You know what I mean? That's being too adherent to the law. Now, you might not think that's a big thing. Let everyone go do whatever they want, right? Believe in what they have, right? But see, I identify as a Messianic Jew in a Christian culture, right? Let me hit the facts. Jesus' scriptures was the Old Testament, the Jewish Old Testament. Jesus was raised a Jew. He lived a Jewish lifestyle. He went to the Jewish temple, right? He was a teacher on the Jewish law, right? This New Testament, the New Covenant, came afterwards. Interesting. And then all the disciples were Jews to begin with, from that same era, right? And then we have, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that we could have saved ourselves a lot of time and trouble. Can you imagine life without the Catholic Church? Life without the Reformation? Life without the Crusades? Now, I'm not saying that they wouldn't happen, right? But I'm just saying there'd be a better chance, right? Because I think the biggest problem is that the Judean people were looking for a physical temple and not a cosmic temple. And forgive me for this next bit, but it's pretty easy from a man in the 21st century to judge someone in the first century, right? Because I have the resurrection. And I also have 2,000 years of history, but I also have 57 years of my own living on this planet. And I've come to understand that we all need to be together, and there should be no differences among us, and nothing should separate us. And what separates us? Well, that's the role of the nuisance. And that's why when Jesus came, he was coming not only for the original sin in the garden and the fact that we had to wear clothes, but he was coming to reverse Herman. Now, what happened at Herman? Well, the Watchers came down, and then they had relations with women, and the result of that was giants, Nephilim, and demons when they died, right? You know what I mean? And that's why the world is the way it is today. It is a matrix type of situation, people, except we're in control. You take your blue pill or you take your red pill. I don't care what color my Bible is. I'm going to get into it because it's the only way that's going to bring me to the realization that my Messiah was Jewish, that the Lord chose the Jewish people. But the problem is now is that we've opened it up, and I think they need to look back to their roots of Abram, because Abram was an immigrant and a sojourner, and he wasn't circumcised. Yeah, I'm being a little bit saucy there, but in a good way. But then again, that same way, if I was in Israel now, they'd probably stab me, you know, hang me upside down and stone me or something, right? Because if you think what's going on in the governments of the Middle East, I'm talking about Israel now, and the government in America, it's wrong. It's just wrong on every level. People, might does not make right, and your term is only going to last so long, and you got to live with this shit for the rest of your life.